I said Stacy D is messing with you.
You ain't got no job.
Tommy. Oh, I think he died. Hello and welcome to Cognitions, Speaking the Unspeakable with JP
and Stacy D.
D, what you eating? What are you eating? What is it?
A quesadilla burger.
I am JP Craddock, and that is the one and only Stacy D Love. We have interrupted Stacy's lunch.
Yeah, really.
Coming up on the show today, we have our question of the day, which is, I do not like my own child. How can I overcome this? So we have that coming up after our check-in and mental health and illness in the news. We are broadcasting remotely here on KUAW radio. That is knowledge, understanding,
and wisdom.
Yes. You can catch us here on Facebook, YouTube, TuneIn, the station's page, and other outlets. Okay, let's get to our...
Please like us and subscribe to us on YouTube, please.
Yes, and share.
We need them.
And share. Also on Facebook.
And share, yes.
Well, nothing against YouTube, but I do find it interesting that the show averages 1,000 to 1,500 views on Facebook, and then YouTube will have like 60. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. We have to figure that out. But Stacy D is back in the house. The D was on vacation last week. Hey, Stacy D, the census got us while you was on vacation last week.
What happened?
Apparently, I was speaking too much unspeakable.
I know. I told Mr. Walker that he got to get that fixed because we can't let our free one just go. You know, the waves out here was the radio waves talking about taking us off the air for a week, y'all. I wasn't even here. That's the bad thing. Usually I'm the bad one.
But wait a minute.
I'll get it started. It started.
But here's the thing. And Mr. Walker, we need you to update us on the appeal. I You know, I go on a rant fussing about people not being COVID safe, and somehow the censors thought that I was sharing information that would encourage people to not be safe.
Yeah.
Which I have no idea how me calling people stupid for not wearing masks was encouraging people to not wear masks. I don't know what happened, but
so Mr.
that's what
Walker,
happened
can
when
you enlighten us on this situation? Because I wasn't here. I'm finding out. I'm leaving. The whole thing goes to hell in a hay basket. So let me find out what's going on, Mr. Walker.
Okay, so listeners, you all can't hear Mr. Walker, but he has filed an appeal and he is trying to get to the bottom of it. But this is what happens when the D goes out of town. I end up saying something and the censorship fully kicks in. We in trouble while you was on the beach.
Boy, on the yachts, the beach, I mean, living my best. Wow.
I'm back here getting in trouble. Okay, what's your check-in? What's your check-in, Stacy D?
Okay, so no, I just had a real good time, but then I come back, you know how you have a real good time, and then you come back and why is my car? Okay, you guys. So my baby girl, she stays here temporary. Mm-hmm. And I forgot my keys on my nightstand, and I come back and my car is on a flat. But I have run flat tires. And so I want to give run flat tires. Hey, when they say they run flat tires, there are most definitely run flat tires. I rode on that flat for a minute until I got to where I need to get to. And,
run flat tires?
Oh yeah, they don't go flat.
I don't know what that means.
They look flat, but they're not flat. You can still roll on them. You're not gonna be on the side of the road.
With a hole in it?
Yeah, I had a hole in it.
Really?
Yeah. They worth that extra money.
They have invented tires that do not go flat.
Yes, because one is I do not have a spare. There's nowhere for me to put a spare in my car. So FYI, ladies, if you do not know this, if you do not have a spare in your car, that means you have run flat tires. And you can roll on them up to 75 miles so you can get where you need to get to. Yeah.
But
I did it.
Okay, but
I don't know. It's not me. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist.
But I don't see how a person would know that
your sensor, it'll tell you from your sensor, will tell you from your car. So the sensor told me on my car that my tire was on the flat. I went over there and looked at it. It wasn't flat, but it was low. So me thinking I'm smart. The D, I'm just gonna go put some air in the tire. But knows to me, I don't have regular air in my tires. And I'm not gonna say the word because my friends was laughing at me. I call it nitroglycerin, but it's not for the heart attack.
What?
So whatever that air is, glycerin, what is it? Nitrogen. So it's nitrogen air. Yeah, because I said it was nitroglycerin. Everybody was like, is your tire having a heart attack? Oh. So that air didn't really help my tire. So I just drove on the Baron and they got me together. But
so, okay. These run flat tires have nitrogen in them.
Yes.
You put regular air in it and that made it go flat.
No. It just didn't blow up like I thought it should have blew up.
This is so crazy.
Do you have a spare in your car? You haven't never
assumed that all cars have a spare.
No, they don't do that no more. Not no more.
There might not be a spare in my car.
No, it's not.
Oh, I should be what?
Run flat.
Oh, first thing, I should be embarrassed that we are on the radio I don't even know if I got to spare my damn car.
That lets you know what type of driver or girl JP is, huh?
But you know what? But I take good care of my car. Look, if I notice the slightest sound, I can hear I will take a car to the shop and the mechanic will be like, I don't know what you heard. If it gets louder, come back. For now, we need for you to go. Because when I was a kid, my cars would break down so much that I have a little anxiety about cars breaking down because I immediately picture myself on the side of the road. Okay.
That's
and so if I hear anything, I'm all up in the mechanic's face like it's something wrong with the car. But apparently I need to pop the trunk. I haven't had my latest car for that long. I've only had it a year or so.
Right. Well, I guess that's how long I had mine. Yeah. That's as long as I've had mine. Yeah.
I guess that's long enough.
But I drove over 60,000 miles on it in 1.5 years. I get down.
As soon as we get done with this show, I am going down to the garage
and check Nadine's car too.
And seeing she got a spare.
Oh, she does? Okay.
I don't know if I got one. So if I don't have a spare, I got these run flat tires.
Right.
So your daughter was running flat. She
was rolling in my car.
But I can understand her doing it because she didn't know that you needed another tire because it keeps running when it's supposed to be flat.
But it does give you a sensor though. It does give you a sensor. It gives you a sensor that you're flat. And she probably heard up and ran up in here in the garage then when she seen the sensor. And then, you know how you throw the rock, yeah.
Did she confess?
Hell no. And she's not going.
Oh my God, that is so, I can't wait to find out what kind of tires I got.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and they're more expensive because the regular old tire was like $160. Non-run fat. But I had to tell King, I'm like, King, you work at night. And I'm working during the daytime. Don't make me have to call the police to come to the house and wake you up if I'm on a flat. So he immediately went and bought the run flats.
Wow.
And it was over $100 more dollars a tire.
I got to check out my tires quickly. Okay. Well, here's my check-in. This is so ridiculous. Nadine and I have to get some plumbing done at the house. Now, we have had plumbing nightmares. We have in the past spent thousands of dollars to have plumber come in, screw up a bunch of stuff, and then have to pay a better plumber thousands to undo what the first plumber did. And so now when we have plumbing problems, we get second, third, fourth, and fifth opinions. I get more opinions on plumbing than a medical diagnosis. Okay. Wow. I listen to my doctor, like she tell me, I'm like, okay, I'll take her word for it.
Yeah,
a plumber tell me something, I need more opinions. So we got all these plumbers coming into the house. The first one shows up, no mask. Nadine tells this fool, do you have a mask? Oh no, I don't have one. So she gives him one because we got a box of masks like right close to the door because ain't nobody coming up in here breathing COVID all over the place. That's the first plumber. Second plumber shows up, very professional. Okay, he took his shoes off at the front door. We didn't even ask him to do that. Okay, took his shoes off. He had his mask on, everything. He goes through. He's thorough. He's breaking the plumbing down deep. Okay, broke it down and gave us a $7,000 estimate. That's a lot of money. Okay, third plumber. These hillbillies show up. Two hillbillies looking greasy and dirty with no mask. And so the second one says, he looks at me surprised. You want us to wear masks? Well, I don't have one. So I was about to tell this fool, Well, I don't either. So y'all can leave. His buddy partner says, well, I got one in the car. This hillbilly goes to his truck and pulls out the dingiest, dirtiest mask and gives it to the first plumber. He puts it on. First thing, why you put on another man's mask? He been breathing hot breath and COVID all through the mask. That's like kissing somebody to me. Like you wearing, so he puts this dingy mask on. And I'm like, we're not hiring these nincompoops. And so they come in, don't know, I can tell they don't know crap about plumbing. They only caught and gave me half the amount of information as the $7,000 estimate. So I was like, plus we ain't hiring this fool no way, because he a hillbilly and he showed up, he didn't even have a mask.
Well, it's not that bad hillbilly. Don't say because they're a hillbilly now. Not because they're
but D's worried about the census. You worried about the census. The census got the D worried. Censorship got you worried. The D word, look, don't let me speak too much unspeakable. Okay. I'm not saying this because they were hillbillies. I'm just saying they was hillbillies, okay? Like, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they married to their cousins or nothing like that. I'm just saying. Plumbers go from house to house to house. These are people who oftentimes are drudging through piss and feces. For him to not even have a mask in his vehicle, I was not hiring him. So he's standing there in the entryway after they get done looking at the pipes and everything, and sees Sashi's train, because the tracks run through the, the living room and everything. He's impressed, whatever. He's like, oh, look, your kid's got a train. Yes, she rides the train. And I said, yes, we have a 2-year-old upstairs sleep, and 225,000 children were diagnosed with COVID last week, which is the reason why I needed you to have a mask on before coming in this house. Oh, I understand. I'm thinking clearly you don't understand, because you didn't even have one. You coming here in the middle of the day, you showed up with nothing but like plumber's crack and a dingy. My message to our listeners is, if you have any work to be done at your house, and it is done by repairmen or handymen or workers who go from house to house, if they show up at your crib without a mask and they don't even have one, and they surprised that you asking for one, like, why we need a mask? COVID? What's COVID? Do not hire them, okay? Because they bringing COVID up in your house. Okay, so Stacy, that's how my week went while you was.
Okay, so who did you find? Okay, so did you hire a plumber? Everybody want to know the end of the story. Did you even hire a plumber?
We're not done. We got 2 more estimates to go.
Okay, and also I have someone for you too. He does all our work at the bar.
Perfect. Give me his information.
I will.
Okay.
So you want me to get off the air?
Because we trying to get the house ready to sell, and we got to do
Where
some
you moving
to? Well, no.
Hey, I want to sell. Listen, I want to sell too, but unfortunately, I don't know where to go, because I'm like, could come out like $80,000 on the up, but I don't have nowhere to go. Yeah,
property values have skyrocketed.
Yes. I'm like,
in the past year, we gained over like $50,000 in equity. The problem is, if you sell your house, whatever house you buy, it went up too.
And even if you say, well, I'm gonna buy my time and I'm gonna rent. I mean, apartments are going for $2,000 now. It's ridiculous. So I guess I just stay right here, and I missed that boat. Oh, well.
Yeah, because the only way to bank your profits would be to sell your house and then rent. But what do you do? Rent until property values come down? Like,
and we don't know when that's coming down because it's supposed to it went down a few years ago.
right.
Every 10 years. Yeah.
There you are in an apartment living next door to the hillbilly plumbers that came to my house with no mask. Okay. Let's get to mental health and illness in the news. I got some good stories today. Okay. One, apparently, Stacy D, are you familiar with Instagram? Are you an Instagrammer? You got an Instagram page.
Instagram model. What are you talking about?
Oh, the D. Why am I not surprised? Oh, look at you. Get it, D. Work it. Work it, D. Work it. Work it. You are crazy. Okay. Well, listen, I'm glad that you mentioned Instagram modeling, which I was unaware that this happens. Instagram is reportedly bad for teenage brains. The Wall Street Journal reported on this and stated that the owner of Instagram, which I guess is Facebook, was aware of this. They reported that Instagram has negative effects on teenagers, especially girls, on their cognitive functioning. It creates body issues. Worse, you knew that?
Yeah.
Okay, for 1 in 3 teenage girls who are on Instagram, they end up having some body issues, and it evolves into suicidal ideations, suicidal thoughts. 1 in 16 in the US link the suicidal thoughts to Instagram, and 1 in 8 in Britain. The problem with this, and I mean, the Wall Street Journal is very credible. The problem is the specifics were not disclosed. Like, what is it? I've never been on Instagram. What is it about Instagram that is creating or exacerbating these negative body images that is causing teenage girls to drop down into depression and drop down into suicidal thoughts? Now, if there's models on there,
it's a lot of them.
There's a lot of models on there. Okay, and so I suppose the teenage girls looking at the models, but aren't models everywhere?
Yes,
like,
but they're
models on
they're different on Instagram, because on Instagram it's just your average running the mills that they can get real big and popular. It's just your next door neighbor that goes on there and the right person and yeah, and they just go wow. And if you're looking at them and then you're having issues with your own body imaging and body shaming, and it's just a bad situation, I guess.
Okay.
Once again, I want to go back to parents. Always pump your child up. So then they want, I mean, you know what? Stacy D is thicky thin, and I don't have any problems with that, And if you build up their self-concept, their self-image, then this can help with some of that suicide. I mean, like, oh, okay, she's skinny, but guess what? You know what? I would tell you this woman's name. I might say this name wrong.
Don't get us sued, Stacy D. What you about to say about this woman?
She's a rapper. Zillow. Oh my God! Somebody help us out.
Mr. Walker don't know.
You don't know
young rappers. He listening to that mess.
Rizzo.
Oh, Rizzo.
Lizzo. Okay,
Lizzo.
All our age. We're gonna show all our age.
I know. It's Lizzo.
Lizzo, yeah. I'll be really saying like, okay, she's doing too much.
There is somebody named Rizzo too, though. But that's a whole nother story.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Lizzo. And I love her positivity, how positive she is about her body, and she's like, should I get any man? And I think she's about 350, but I can get any man I want. And she's just so confident, and wow. So yeah.
That's what young girls need to see
most
to balance it out. But what you're describing, I need to check out Instagram. What you're describing makes sense, because going through the grocery store and seeing models on fashion magazines, that's so far removed from a teenage girl that she is not gonna compare herself to that as much as getting on Instagram and seeing, you know, her cousin from across town up in there and she's looking fly. Because it's like, I should be looking like that. Exactly. I'm not going to be the cover of Vogue, but why am I not that? So that makes sense. Well, this is sad and unfortunate.
It is. It really is.
But and there needs to be more.
Need to bring our children up, bring our daughters up, you know, just love on them, you know, just really love on them and let them feel comfortable in their own skin, in their own self, you know?
Instill that foundation within them that they are beautiful and that there are many different body types. You don't have to look like this Instagram model. You know, you don't have to be this particular size. It's kind of like 2-3 weeks ago, we were talking about how the department stores, some of them are no longer separating the full-figured clothes from the other clothes just to reduce all of that. Like, hey, the human body comes in all different shapes and sizes, and it's all beautiful. And that is the foundation. You are absolutely right, Stacy D. That is the foundation that parents need to instill in their kids. And we do need to have more of a balance. There needs to be more Lizzos and Queen Latifahs and, you know, different sizes. You know, everybody can't be tiny. Okay. Here's the next story. Here's something.
Fix is what's in.
Ficky Thick. The D on Instagram. I'm gonna find you on there, D. Okay. Here is something interesting. Okay. You know, 100 years ago, we had a pandemic. The first pandemic was 100 years ago, back in 1918, 1919. Well, the current death toll is 675,000, with 42.2 million people diagnosed with COVID, which means that we in deaths have surpassed the death toll from 100 years ago.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Just because of how we just grew. The baby boomers is what really did it. Hell.
I find this to be interesting and unpleasantly surprising, because they didn't even have a vaccine 100 years ago. We are supposed to be 100 years advanced. How is it that we've made all these scientific advancements, but when it comes to common sense, cognitive functioning, are we less primitive? Not that they were primitive 100 years ago, but how is it that in these modern times, there is all of this resistance to things that would help us move beyond the pandemic? We are 100 years ahead of where they were and doing worse. I think that says a lot about mankind and about the mentality that you can make all sorts of scientific advancements, but a fool gonna be a fool.
And also,
a fool gonna be a fool.
Hi. But I also put on also with the different streams that we have now. You know, we have more videos and okay, more videos. Back then they only had the newspaper. And it was just more videos. People can tap on there and they can hear something. Oh, I'm sticking with this. Oh yeah, did you hear this? And you hear that? And everything that you see and hear is not true. It's just not true. And it's just a lot of things that a lot of people agree about nowadays, period, that you just be like, really? Where'd you get that from? The internet? Oh, okay. The internet is the Bible. Okay.
The downside of our technological advancements, but the upside of our technological advancements is information is able to spread so much faster. People are able to educate themselves so much faster than 100 years ago, where you had to wait for the newspaper to let you know that there was a pandemic.
And everybody dying all around you. Oh,
and you don't even know why they died.
Don't even know why they
get
died.
a hold of a paper.
Exactly. But negativity holds and grows faster than positivity do.
True. Okay, this next story, instead of calling this mental health and illness in the news, I am going to call this next story mental illness and stupidity in the news.
Let's get it.
A restaurant called Hang Time Grill and Bar, just outside of Dallas, kicked a couple out for wearing masks in the restaurant. They were wearing them because they have a 4-month-old at home who is suffering from a compromised immune system. But
I'm surprised they even out. I wouldn't have been out.
Well,
rode around the airport or picked it up on drive up or something. I wouldn't even.
Well, they call themselves trying to be safe, but the owner of the restaurant said, and I quote, "I put my blood, sweat, and tears in this business, and I don't want any mask in here." That's what he said on the news. I rewound it because I was like, let me rewind this. Surely this food did not just kick them out of the restaurant. And so there we have mental illness and stupidity in the news, which that links up perfectly well with the story that I just covered about how we may be 100 years advanced in many ways, but the mentality of food is going to be a food. All right. This next story is extremely unfortunate. D, you was on vacation, but did you hear about the Gabby Petito disappearance?
It was all on the news everywhere. That's what they were
all
saying.
On the news, which I'm going to get to that in a minute. Okay, so Gabby Petito, for those who do not know, was doing this new van life thing that has kind of emerged in recent years where, you know, it's not the old conversion vans from back in the day. It's not big mobile homes. It's like it's a regular van that gets converted to kind of like a conversion home, little tiny kitchen, little, you know, they were doing the van life. Her and her boyfriend or fiance, Brian Laundrie. Well, he returned home from the trip without her.
Without her?
Okay. He returned home from Florida without her. Well, since then, her body has been found last Sunday, and it has been ruled a homicide. And so now they are searching for him because he has disappeared. Here's the question that I have for you, Stacy D, because his parents, him and her, they were living with his parents. The parents would not cooperate with authorities and referred the authorities to their attorney until September 17th, when they reported that he had left the home on the 14th. So they waited 3 days before notifying the FBI, our son is not here, he is gone. And so, Stacy D, I have a question. Would you, as a parent, turn your child in if they were involved in a homicide investigation?
I plead the fifth.
You plead the fifth on that. Okay. Well, let me tell you what I would do. I need for my kids.
Y'all, Sasha's only 2, y'all. She's only 2. I just told you she's what's in that.
Don't forget, I got 2 other heathens. I got 2 grown heathens. And let me tell you something.
But that's Sasha.
Let me tell you something.
They're divorcing Nadine when she get about 13, y'all.
If my Sashi boo, that's my baby.
That's your baby.
If my Sashi boo, who I love to ground my baby walk.
She be looking just like that when you went who. She looks like that.
I love to grab my baby walk on.
Yes, you do.
If she gets involved in a homicide investigation and they showing up at the house, I'm not waiting. I'm cooperating with authorities. You are not coming home by yourself in a van. You left here.
I would have said, you need to leave again. Why did you come home by yourself?
Well, he's clearly.
He should have stayed out.
This
video. He clearly looks like at least 10 years older than her too.
He's only like 22 or 23.
Oh my God, he looks so old though.
He just, actually, his face does not look old. When you see him with a hat, he doesn't look old. What happened is he's prematurely bald.
He's bald. Okay, that's what
he's bald in his early 20s. I'm sitting here bald right now, but in my 20s, oh, the hair was rolling.
He had a little bit more, y'all. He had a little bit more.
I had my hair and activator juice and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, everybody that got curl activators in our class reunion, because you know our class reunion is gonna be this October. Everybody that had curls, they're all bald.
That activator moisturizer made all our hair fall out.
I think it.
But the company's out of business. You can't sue them. Okay, so this fool, I don't know why he's bald in his early 20s. This man is fully bald on the top of his head. But the problem is, I have a problem with these parents not cooperating with authorities and giving him a 3-day head start on escaping. A human life is at stake here. And yes, I love my Sashi boo. I love my kids. Do not come. I'm gonna tell, if you kill somebody, don't come home. Do not
come home.
Don't come home. Because I'm calling the popos and look, and I'm gonna show up at the jail and see my baby. I'm gonna show up and visit my baby every day. But don't come home with a van. It's blood all over the place, and you talking about I don't know where he at. Sashi, I'm calling the popos. Here's the interesting thing about this story as well. I'm addressing this not to take anything away from that story, but NPR reported that, quote, media fascination with the Petito story. Basically, the media has ignored an epidemic of missing and murdered Native American women. Since the year 2000, Indigenous people have made up 21% of homicides in Wyoming, one of the states where Petito and the boyfriend was at. And so what they are saying is media fascination with the Petito story, it's racist. Basically, it looks like racism to some Native Americans. And here's some of the stats.
She was an Indian? She was a Native American?
No, she's white and blonde. But what they're saying is that her story got all of this media coverage.
Oh, okay, this ain't nothing new.
But
it's been like that for a while, even with Black women. Okay.
Yes, only 30% of those homicide victims that were Native American received any media coverage, and here's something that was reported by second wave media, that across the country in 2019, more than 5,590 Native American women were reported missing.
Oh, I believe
Murder was the third leading cause of death. There was no media coverage on national networks covering this. In Wyoming, the same state that Petito had, because they were doing this cross-country thing, and I guess that might be where she actually disappeared from, 710 Native Americans were reported missing from 2011 to 2020. 85% of them were children, 57% were female. Where was their national coverage? And so this is not to take anything away from the horrible situation with Gabby Petito, but we do need to take a look at, would so many Native American women continue to come up missing if their stories got some media coverage? You should not have to be a white female in order for yes, in order for your story to make the news. This has been on the news like every day, 2-3 times a day. And so it was shocking that over 5,000 Native American women have come up missing and it doesn't get any coverage. So, all right. Do you have any thoughts on that before we get to the question of the day? The question of the day is a little intense.
No, let's go. Let's get it.
Okay. Question of the day. I do not like my own child. How can I overcome this? All right. Usually, parents in this position are disliking their child's behaviors more so than disliking the actual child.
Most definitely.
But if the behavior is so extreme or frequent that it predominates your experiences and your interactions with your child, then it can turn into disliking your child.
And then we also need to understand the age group. So, I mean, because like right now, because my children are 30 and up, you know, I can dislike them and nothing's wrong with that because they're grown. I mean, I could just dislike them, block them, and let them understand.
Block them.
Block them.
What am I laughing at? I blocked the kid. Okay.
Exactly. And there's nothing, and I'm just thinking there's nothing wrong with that. If they are, because mine is well grown, they're 13 and over. Okay. Now, when they're younger children, I never had that dislike for my children when they were younger. I never encountered that. I never encountered that.
Well, we're going to talk about some of those situations because I have seen clients in therapy who do not like it's usually teenagers though. It's usually teenagers.
Yeah, and if it's a mother, it's the daughter.
It's frequently, yes.
Yes.
I want us to talk about this because this is something, and this is speaking the unspeakable. That's what we do up in here. This is something that people keep inside and carry it with shame and embarrassment, like a family secret that, oh my God, I don't like my child. I do not like my child. And I want us to talk about this openly because it doesn't always have to remain that way. So let's take a look at it. Some behaviors, though, are so extreme and so extensive that they appear to make up the whole of who a person is. That's when it can kind of cross the line from I don't like my child's behavior to I don't like my child because this behavior appears to be 80-90% of who this fool is.
Yeah, yes.
I don't like my child. And here's some examples that I have witnessed and seen and treated people for. One, here's an example. If your child has extreme, explosive, severe, and volatile anger to the point of cursing you out or physically assaulting you and abusing you on a regular and consistent basis. Because I have seen parents who their kids physically attack them on a regular basis.
I wish they would. I wish they would.
I knew you was gonna be like, I wish the.
And mind you, I have worked at the mental health center with children for years, and I still don't understand that.
Oh, it happens.
But it happens, and I know some of it is mental health. But I could come up into the home, even though I would only be in the home 2 to 3 hours, but it'll stop. It would stop.
It happens. Here's another example.
Never happened in my home. Have it ever happened in your home before? Because we have to go back to Mama Payne and Mama Lynn. I brought you here.
I was not acting no fool with my mom.
Hell no, because
my mama did not play.
We knew the saying, I brought you in this world. Come on, JP.
And I'll take you out. But this happens, and I've seen this over the past 22 years, more than a couple of times. Here's another example. When parents find themselves not liking their child, if your child is a serial sex offender, pedophile, murderer of women, we just talked about the Gabby Petito case, or has attempted to murder you.
Yes.
Those are parents who oftentimes are like, I do not like my child. My child tried to kill me. Another example, if your child has allowed their drug addiction to spread through their whole existence to the point that they are robbing you blind, verbally abusing you, physically abusing you, exploiting you, all of those different things, because addictions, drug addictions can permeate all through a person to the point where you don't even see the person that they used to be, and who you do see, you do not like, regardless of the fact that that is your child. So for parents in this position, it is possible to reach a point where you not only do not like your child, but you have stopped loving them. And that's what people are so ashamed of, to the point that they won't even talk about that in therapy and get help for it, because of the shame of, I don't feel like I love my child anymore. Nobody ever wants to talk about it, but it is something that we need to talk about. Losing love for your child does not have to be permanent. What you want to think about is that the two of you can rebuild that relationship at some point. So let's take a look at what rebuilding that relationship looks like, regardless.
We're really focusing on how to rebuild that relationship.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Regardless of the extent of the damage that has been done to the relationship, I just want people to hold out hope that it can be rebuilt. First thing you want to do is address this openly with your child. I know it's intense and it's embarrassing and nobody wants to talk about, I don't like my kid, but you need to be willing to say that you are struggling to like them because of the behaviors that they are exhibiting, because of how they are treating you. Those behaviors are difficult to like. Letting them know that their behavior is affecting you on that level might actually impact them, and give them something to think about as a first step towards turning things around. Because what I have noticed from kids in this position is they have no idea that it's even possible for their parent to no longer like them or to not love them. And so when that part comes out, it is a wake-up call. They oftentimes are like, I didn't know it was that serious. I didn't know it was that bad. And the parent is sitting there in tears, feeling horrible, but saying, yes, it's to that point. And so hopefully when you address it, you speak on something that is unspeakable, it'll open the door to maybe doing some problem solving. And let's take a look at what the problem solving looks like. You want to ask them key questions, like ask them, why do they engage in these behaviors? What's fueling the behaviors? Ask them if they need help in gaining control over the behaviors. Ask them if there's anything that you can do to help them, to assist them with managing and gaining control over these negative behaviors and eliminating these negative behaviors. Ask them if they feel like you played a role in some of the negative behaviors that they are exhibiting. And this is especially important in those situations where your child is physically attacking you, or verbally attacking you, or has tried to cause lethal harm to you. you want to ask, what do you feel like I played a role in how you are treating me? Because there are those times where a kid feels like, I'm attacking you because such and such and such and such and such. I'm attacking you because you brought men into the house who sexually abused me. And when I told you about it, you didn't listen and you held on to your man. That's why I'm attacking you. So whatever it is, not that I'm blaming parents in this situation. I'm not blaming parents. I'm not blaming kids. I'm saying that there usually is a background story to why your child is treating you that way. And you want to ask them, do you feel like I am causing you to treat me this way or to act in this manner? Another thing, of course, is seek out professional help. Like, it's time to call a therapist. Because all these deep conversations, I'm not exactly expecting people to be able to navigate these waters on their own. As Stacy D just said, when she was working and doing in-home with families and had to address some of these volatile interactions, your goal, D, was first and foremost creating safety in the home, which is eliminating the physical aggression. And so seeking professional help is going to be really necessary and important in these situations for the adults that I see, because I oftentimes will get adults who are like, I need to schedule an appointment for me and my mama and my daddy and my sisters, because we got a lot to talk about and folks are not liking each other. And we address it, we deal with it. In those instances, there's usually not physical fighting going on, but they have a lot to address and to work out. Here's what I always say. I always say, this is the final note that I want to make on this, is I believe that our lives are like a book, and everybody is writing the chapters in that book. And you may not like the chapter that your child is currently in. You may not like how they're writing that chapter. What I want parents to do is have faith that it is always possible for them to exit that chapter and enter into a new chapter. We grow, we develop, we change, we mature, and it is possible for your child to do the same. And so holding out that hope that, okay, I'm not really happy with the chapter that my child is currently writing in the book that is their life, whether it is riddled with drug addiction, violence, aggression, whatever the case may be, just give the benefit of the doubt, which means when I started this off and I said, you don't have to believe that you're never going to like your child, that you're never going to have love for your child again. You're just not loving where they're at in life right now. And so give the benefit of the doubt, hold some hope and some faith that they will grow and change and develop. I can relate personally to this situation because, unfortunately, I have a son who I do not like. So when I see families in this situation, I can relate to it. Remember when we covered the Kirk Franklin story? And for those listeners who remember when we covered that, I was able to relate to Kirk Franklin. Now, I'm not saying, because I don't cuss my kids out and I don't use G.
I do.
D, you don't even hardly even cuss anymore.
No, I don't cuss, but I can fuss them out.
Stop it, D.
I don't cuss, but I can fuss them out. Now, right before I found God and did the switch over and trying to do my tongue right, oh, they used to get some lashings. honey, some
You
lag.
did used to know your way around a cuss.
Yeah, but guess what? It was all
Don't
done
cuss
in
no more.
love. It was all done in love, though. It was all done in love.
Well, when Kirk Franklin cussed the only problem I had with Kirk Franklin cussing his kid out was the GD, because that's one of the cuss words that's off limits for me. But one of them, I'm pretty much okay with all the rest. But I could understand and empathize with Kirk Franklin's position, because one of my sons, right after that story, he tried to make me pull a Kirk Franklin. Okay. And it is really, and when we cover, because we are going to do a story on why so many adoptions fail, or why so many adoptions are disrupted adoptions. And so I do want to take a look at that, and I'm going to go into more. Yeah, I'm gonna go into more detail. I've been spending a lot of time trying to prepare.
I also have adopted 2 children myself. I adopted twin girls, so yeah, they are actually 41 years old.
Do you never told me this?
Yes, did. You must have forgot. They were my oldest. I was a foster care director and fell in love with the foster care kids.
We adopted from foster care.
Yeah,
to me, that's the best way.
I was a director, and they were getting so treated so bad that I just went on and adopted them. They were already 14 years old, and I brought them into my home. Yeah, my youngest was actually they're 3 years older than Brandon, so they were 14, and Brandon was 11. And believe it or not, Brandon has always went back and said, "Mom, I'm glad that you got me some big sisters." So it helped him.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I'm still in contact with my daughters. Yeah, they both live in Wichita. One of them have a master's. She is a marriage and family therapist. Got it from her mama. And the other one, she's still trying to find her way. They were twins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first daughters. And all my kids get along really well. I mean, that was such a blessing. It was like, God, it was most definitely heaven sent, because they got along like, the original, how stuff goes with siblings, but not like, I wish you leave, you ain't my mama's child. That never came out of none of their mouths.
Wow.
My baby.
Well, your experience is totally different from what I'm talking about right now. Okay.
So we're going to go deeper into all of that in a couple of weeks, you guys.
We're going to talk about adoption and because I've worked with so many families of disrupted adoptions. We're going to talk about what it takes in order to increase the chances for success. But my own personal experience, I have one of my sons is I do not like him. The lying, the stealing, the disrespect, like all those degenerate behaviors spread through our relationship like a cancer. But as I was saying before, I do hold on to the hope that this is just a chapter that he is in. And I don't like how he's writing this chapter, but when your kids become adults, like, you give them the pen. They get to finish writing that book.
The pencil and the paper. Yes.
They're going to write the book of their life how they want to, regardless of whether you like it. You looking at it and reading it, and it's a horror story.
What the hell? But yeah.
Like, did Stephen King write this? What are you doing?
Exactly.
But it is a situation where that's all I can do at this point is hope. Like, he exits the current chapter, he enters into a new chapter, writes a different chapter. But I would be remiss if I sat here and acted like it's not possible for parents to get to a point where they do not like their kid. At the same time, it may not always be that way. So, Stacy D, any thoughts on this? Any tips?
Agree with you, JP.
Okay.
I totally agree with you. You hit every dot on that.
Yeah. I'm hoping that, more people will feel comfortable talking about this and, as opposed to holding it in as like this dark secret. Oftentimes you think you holding it in as a secret. Everybody else in the family is like,
yeah, I already know.
They know. They like, she don't like him.
Mm-mm.
Or the dad, they look at the dad, they're like, he don't like his son. They don't like each other. So, all right. That is it for our question of the day. Stacy D, anything else we need to cover today?
Nope, that'll be it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the show today. So happy to have Stacy D back.
Woo-hoo! Glad to be back.
The censors aren't going to come after us.
I hope not, because we were talking about the whole mask thing again. Oh, Lord.
We did talk about it again.
We did talk
They
about
actually might come after us again.
We're not here next week. Everybody knows it's JP's fault.
Because I refuse to let it go. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Remember, worry about nothing.
And pray about everything.
Thank you and God bless.
Bye-bye now.